as we watch the sun coming up over the horizon, we're out in the African bush of the Sabi Sands, Kruger National Park of South Africa. My name is Ralph Kirsten. This is Safari Live. Please join us on hashtag Twitter, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube chat. We're going to be joining with the dawn chorus of the birds waking up. We've heard some animals moving around. We're going to go and see what we can find out on foot. The drives have headed out and they've gone to see what they can find with the vehicles. Those big guys, that's always lucky, but we're looking for the small tracks and signs, the little dung beetles, the insects, the arthropods, and obviously the birds as they call. We will be looking what they have been up to during the night, and as they wake up, well, so are we. So please join us as we continue on our bushwalk. We've got a lot of birds calling up on the horizon here, so the anticipation is always there. After that night of all the animals doing their thing, the nocturnal animals, everything's starting to wake up now. So it's always that anticipation of what we're going to find. And as I said yesterday, if you joined us, we look at the newspaper of the bush and what has been left behind from the animals moving around in the evening. But now we're looking at the waking up of everything, and it's always such an anticipation for me, but I hope you can feel that. But now as that sun comes up, we start to get a little bit of light, and everything is beautiful colors. It's great for the feeling of just that real African bush, the smell. Before, we always look to see what has been going on in the evening. Well, this is a nice little fresh patch of dung and urine. So obviously one of those little tracks and signs that we're always looking for. Now, yesterday I was doing quite a few little tidbits on tracks and signs and especially on dung. This is a very small piece of dung, and this is from an impala. So as you would have seen from yesterday afternoon's sunset safari, this area is quite frequented by the impala, by the wildebeest, and by the zebra, and we don't see any of them here at the moment. They've all shifted off. We will be moving along and trying to pick up and see where they've moved off to, but this is an obvious sign that they were here. And as I spoke of yesterday, with tracking being one of the earliest form of science, the theory that there are impala here is definitely confirmed by us seeing this dung and urine, and with the females dropping a lot of their young at the moment, the males will also be in a little bit of a false rut. So the males will come to these sort of areas and they sniff onto that urine, and then they use there's an organ in the back of their mouth that is called the Jacobson's organ. They do a phlegm and grimace. At some stage I will be able to show you what that is live, but they use this organ to interpret what the females are in terms of their reproductive status, and but for us looking at this, we wouldn't be able to ascertain anything along those lines, but we're looking at this to see what is actually been around. This is very fresh. You can feel it. It's wet, and you can see by the age of it, it hasn't dried out yet, and so that's a nice fresh sign that there are impala here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move along. We're going to try and pick up some more fresh tracks and signs. As such, as we listen to the guinea fowl starting to wake up, they've just come down from their roost. But as we move on now, I think we're going to cut to Noel, who's got an introduction for you as well.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you're all well and it's a beautiful, glorious morning. I am Noelle and on camera I have VM. Hello Vildy. Thumbs up from Vildy. This is live, this is interactive. You can follow us on hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter or on the YouTube chat, and we love your questions. Send them through, send them through. If I'm remembering correctly, I believe it's 22 and 63, so 22 degrees Celsius and 63 degrees Fahrenheit. We are on the lookout for leopard. Both Vildy and I are feeling like this morning is a leopard morning. It's crisp. It smells good. It's definitely summer and it's not too hot yet. I think today will be a warm day like it was yesterday, but we will have to wait and see. So I want to follow up on that amazing sighting that my friend Steve had yesterday afternoon. Sorry, I've just got a spider web going from me to Vildy's camera, and see if Tingana or Hasana wants to pop up for us. As you know, I've seen Tingana, but he ran away before he could go live on camera, and I have not seen Hasana yet, so those are things I would like to tick off, and hopefully we'll get some good interactions. But for now, we have some beautiful male impala that are just in front of us, also waking up, enjoying this crisp, cool morning. There's a beautiful specimen of an impala. Gorgeous horns. Oh, yes, please, boys. Oh, you can hear the horns when they're doing that. Nice and close. I didn't do it. You're wondering about my new headgear. I had to go into town the other day to sort out a few things. We'd have to do town trips every now and then. And I got this hat because the other hat I was wearing was not working for me. So I bought this in a hood sprite. It's an Indiana Jones hat. That's what this hat is. It's an Indiana Jones hat. And I'm getting used to it, but I hope you all like it. I hope it suits the visuals for your shows. Noelle Jones curse says, yeah. Well, hey, look, I think every kid at one point wanted to be Indiana Jones, so I'm just carrying on with that in my adult years. I'm using the air bunnies because I don't know if I'll ever really be adult. All right. Oh, and then our impala have run off. Okay, so let's carry on. Let's see if we can get these tracks of these leopards or leopard. We will have to wait and see. Oh, and then before I forget, actually, this is a very good time to do this. I had homework the other day from everybody. I mistakenly called this beautiful creature a butterfly, and I was like, oh, I've never seen this before. I was wrong. So, James corrected me, as well as James Richards also corrected me. Thank you guys both very much. This is a superb false tiger moth. It is a diurnal moth, a daytime moth, and it's one of those things you can actually see from the bottom part of the body here. It's more moth-like than butterfly-like, and then also when it lands, it keeps its wings open. Butterflies usually, when they land, close their wings. That's not always 100%. There are creatures that don't always follow the rules. I mean, this being a daytime moth, that's also not following what we would say is a rule. Most moths are active at night, and most butterflies are active during the day. So I just wanted to show everybody that so that we carry on in a learning precise manner. Okay, leopards. From moths to leopards. You all know me. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Ooh, Christine, you're curious about, other than leopards, what am I looking forward to finding today? Christine, always on the hunt for wild dogs, always on the hunt for cheetah, but I say these things and then really, I mean, you know, you've been on drive with me now for a few weeks, something will pop up that's just as exciting. Mongoose, daytime moth, a bird. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really beautiful morning. For those of you living sort of in the northern hemisphere, you know those summer mornings you get where it was a cool evening and there's a little bit of moisture in the air, and then in the morning, just as the sun's coming up and it's nice and early, and you might go sit on your stoop and you can smell everything. You can smell the leaves on the trees, you can smell the grass, you can smell the flowers starting to come out. That's what this morning is like. So this morning in general is just a really good morning. It could be because I got a full night's sleep. I actually managed 8 hours last night. I usually only do about 4. So I could be on a little bit of a high from that. You don't know. But I think in general this is just a really beautiful morning. So I'm looking forward to enjoying this and driving around with all of you. And hoping that the gremlins stay away. That's what I'm also hoping for. Sadly yesterday our gremlins really attacked us, but we managed a few little highlights for all of you. And I still can't get over that amazing sighting that Steve had yesterday. I mean, 2 male leopards of those ages interacting in that sort of calm, peaceful manner. It's not what you would read in books. And it's interesting, at dinner last night Steve and I were talking, and it's one of those things where with leopard, particularly for me, and I know that he feels somewhat the same, but I don't want to speak for him, so I'll just speak for me, is that, you know, the books don't annotate correctly leopards because all leopard populations are different in every area, and it all depends upon population numbers as to how they interact and what they do. So you would never really read about something like you saw last night. I know a couple of months ago you had a really insane sighting with, I think it was with Tristan, and I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it was Tingana and Hosanna and maybe Kachava, maybe someone else, all together, and there was 2 different kills. I mean, it's Tanda, thanks Curse, sort of all mixing together and interacting, but not interacting in a way that was overly aggressive. It was more sort of like, ugh, alright, you're here, cool, let's carry on. And yeah, again, something that the books won't tell you. Alright, well, my friend Rolf is over on a bushwalk, so let's head over to him and enjoy his presence for a little while as we search for leopard tracks.
Okay folks, have a look at this little hole here. As we came along we saw there was a little bit of signs of something that had been either in this hole, come out of this hole, and as Seb goes back you can see that there's an indication of some eggs that were actually most likely in the hole. So from all the evidence that we have here, it is most apparent that this was definitely from a reptile of sorts. Now, what would most likely make sense is that it would be from one of our tortoise species, that the mother would have dug a little hole here, or found a hole. She would have backed up, she would have laid the eggs in there, and she would have kicked the sand back over that. And then, after a few weeks and going on to a couple of months, the youngsters would have hatched and would have come out, and these shells would have most likely just been dragged behind them as they have exited the hole. Now we get a couple of different types of tortoises in this area. Mostly we've got the leopard tortoise, made famous because of the size that they actually reach. They can get up to at about 70 to 80 kilograms, and they can live for over 100 years. So they're actually very interesting. They're also one of the only tortoises that can swim. So you will find them in some of the watered areas in the little pans, swimming around. Now, the other one that we get is the Speke's hinged tortoise, and I'm talking more common in these areas. But if we talk of the chelonians, or the shelled reptiles that we get in this area, we would have the terrapins around the water holes. So terrapins, they would stay in the fresh water, as opposed to turtles, which would stay in your saltwater resources or your marine areas. So terrapins are aquatic, turtles are marine, and these guys, the tortoises, are terrestrial. So terre in Latin meaning earth, they walk around on the ground. They do have a very high calcium requirement because of this shell that they produce from their backbone, making this home of theirs where they can retract themselves and go on the inside. they pull their head directly back inside, whereas a terrapin, he pull his head to the side. So they've got a very high calcium requirement because of the shell that they need to produce. So these tortoises, they can walk around. Generally they feed on grass and plant matter as such, but with the calcium requirement not only required for making eggs, also for the shell, you will often find them feeding on the shells of your giant land snails. So those big land snail shells that you find on the ground, these guys can actually go and bite little pieces off of that, and you will see them feeding on that. Sometimes when you have the predators which drop their scat, like your hyena and your lion and your leopard, the tortoises can come up after them and actually feed on that. It's not a very nice thought, but with the calcium which is in that scat, they are then obviously feeding on that to assist with their calcium requirement. Because you must think, I mean, the calcium that we require for our nails and hair and teeth, they've got a much bigger requirement. Imagine we've got to try and make this massive shell behind us, almost like Ninja Turtles, hey? We've got to put this big shell behind us. We're going to have to eat a lot of meat, or take a lot of supplements, a lot of calcium supplements to assist us with that production of the calcium. So very interesting. They would have come out, and you know that in that nest itself, the male and female youngsters are determined by the temperature of the inside of the nest, and that's along the lines of all the reptiles. In the nest is where the male-female sex ratio is determined accordingly with the warmth or the coolness within that nest. So, as I've said previously, these are one of the little signs that we start to look out for. It's absolutely amazing. When you're out on foot, you find these little things that you would generally miss when you're out on a drive. You're seeing the big things on the vehicle, and so this for me is utterly amazing. I do know that we're having a question. Listic asking if there's any water bodies nearby for the tortoises. There are some not too far away. Now I say that with me being able to walk on two legs and being upright. For these little tortoises, it can be quite far for them to get to the water source. There is some nearby, but how would they know to find that? Now that is one of the reasons, if you ever come across a wild tortoise, please never pick them up, because they do have a bursa. It's like your bladder that we have. They have a bursa, which is it has where they keep their urine. But if you pick them up in a defensive strategy, they will release this bursa and all this liquid in an attempt to make you go ugh, and drop the tortoise. Okay, so defensive strategy. But if there is no water around, that is where they store their water, and it can help them to survive long periods without any water. So if we pick them up, they release that bursa, they can then subsequently dehydrate because they don't have any water source. So, and that can get them through the winter months if they've stored up that water inside the bursa. So yes, there are some water sources around here, but tortoises are very good at retaining water. Once they find water, they fill up that bursa, and that can take them through extended periods of time. So that's a nice little story that we had here with this nest. And I think we're going to continue on our walk a little bit here, and I do believe that Noel is looking for leopards.
Ralph, I am indeed looking for leopard. Found where what looks like Hasana was lying down on the road back there, and I believe it's where Steve had that sighting with him in Tingana last night. So now I'm just busy driving around checking to see if they moved off, and then I'm going to head towards the dam. It's not quite yet time to go to the dam. There still might be guests in camp at Chitwa, and we don't want to disturb their wonderful safari holiday by hopping around too early. So just excuse me if I'm not looking at the camera too much. I am checking for tracks. I don't want to drive over anything because, as we know, leopards are cheeky enough. And when you drive over your own tracks, you're just making your job that much harder. So we're up here in the little open area that's just to the south of Chitwa Lodge, and then we are going to be moving over towards the airstrip and checking there, and then coming through back to the dam. Maybe checking the little hidey hole on the outflow of the dam, the backside of the dam. It would be nice if one of them was just sitting on one of these termite mounds, but I think that's maybe asking a little bit too much this morning. Got a wonderful herd of impala coming up. Maybe we'll get a view of a baby or two. There's lots of males though, so there's a baby or two with these males and we would be having a whole other conversation. We've got quite a large bachelor herd. There we go. Hello, gentlemen. So you'll see these herds getting sort of larger. There are a couple females in the back there. See, I'm not losing my mind. They've moved down the road. It's like 10 males and 2 females. I thought I saw a couple. Maybe they're just confused. There we go. Or they were chased away from their larger herd by one of these males. It's entirely possible. Or they're just tired of the children. You never know. So you're going to see with mornings like this morning, as the sun's coming up, then everything starts spreading out from these open areas where they were sleeping, resting last night. They can't sleep at night because that would be silly. They would get eaten. And then moving off and going and having a feed, having a drink, and then carrying on and ruminating. So ruminating is how this particular antelope species digests its food, and many of our antelope species, how they digest their food. They chew, 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 swallow, bring it back up, chew, 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 swallow, bring it back up, and they keep doing that to get all the nutrients out. And you'll see that they'll do that sort of in the middle of the day quite often. They also do it when they're resting at night as well. So it's a state that they have to constantly be functioning through, and never truly, truly sleeping. They can't even lie on their side. They sort of have to sit up, and then making sure that all of their nutrients are through their body as best as they possibly can. Now, we've got a little impala midden here, and we have dung beetles. I'm so excited. I love them. I'm just going to unplug so I can come over and talk to you about this a little bit. Here we go. I'm going to move this pile of dung over. So I can touch this dung because they're vegetarians. You don't want to touch anything that eats meat and veg or just eats meat. You're going to get parasites in your body. So the last time we were here, when we had dung beetles, I believe it was the first dung beetles of the season, they were just picking up these impala pellets and then just meandering off. Now this dung beetle is actually taking this very, very, very fresh dung and mixing it together. So this is indeed impala dung, but this, from what I can tell, but this is very constipated impala. When it's all clumped together like this in these balls, it's very constipated. Now, let me just, yes, there's all sorts of little insects. Yes, impala, I see you there. Little insects attacking this dung here, but I'm not quite sure what they are. Just trying to get a closer look. Look like little beetles, and there's quite a few ants. It's very interesting. You can actually hear him digging into this dung and reorganizing it into this ball. I mean, look at the size, and just to give you an example, I mean, here's my hand, and I have large hands for a female, but I mean, that's a tiny little beetle. And that's a lot of dung, and he's able to move that with quite a huge amount of strength. And then if we come just back here, here's one of the holes where some of the dung beetles will bring it into. Sometimes they're just underneath, and sometimes they're going to roll it away. I have a feeling with the amount of work that this guy is doing, he's probably going to roll it away. Just plug back in quickly. Hear all those impala snorts in the background? That's for me breaking our... They can see me in the car. They can see VM in the vehicle as well. But when I get off like that, they're basically going, wait, wait, wait. What are you doing? They don't understand that I'm just trying to show you that wonderful dung beetle. So they're just vocalizing their displeasure at my odd behavior. All right, still not picking up the tracks that we seek. And of course getting sidetracked by the small and wonderful little creatures we find out here. I do hear a squirrel in the background. We can go and check on that, although as you know, I don't set squirrels in the bush here, to me, do not tell us exactly what we want. Rika, you're wondering what is it about dung beetles that many of us love? Rika, I cannot tell you what the fascination is with dung beetles, but I feel the same way that all of you feel. They're just fascinating. Maybe it's because they get to play with poo all day. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that they're so small and so strong and make this very beautiful little sphere, and just how they function with it. To be honest, I don't know. But yes, I think we're all a wee bit obsessed, I'm not gonna lie. But I think it's fine. I mean, one of my best friends did his whole PhD on dung beetles. So it's not just us. There's a lot of other people out there as well. Okay. Sorry, I just had the game drive guys. I turned it up and they shouting in my ear about something. So now, while we're looking for something like these leopards, everything has favorite places. Has places that they like to go, very similar to humans. I've got certain stores that I like to go to, or a certain coffee shop. And leopards are very similar. They've got certain places that they like to be. Now, as we know, Tingana is a master at disappearing, and Hasana kind of moves up and down and around and around, and he hasn't quite figured out. He's got spots that he likes, but he hasn't quite figured out what his actual route is, because he doesn't really have a full territory yet. Whereas Tingana is more systematic as he goes through with his territory, and then Tingana just being Tingana, and you either see him or you don't. But I do not think that they have come up here, or at least in this general direction. I have a feeling, Vildi and I were talking about it just now, I have a feeling that maybe they possibly, I missed some tracks, and possibly they've moved into Little Gallery, or at least one of them. Or, as we're hoping, by the time we get to the dam, they might actually be at the dam itself. And hopefully with this morning, they will not play games and run around. See, I mean, that there's all these beautiful marula trees they could be inside. They're not, of course. They're probably hiding in some very thick scrub, lying down like this. James Richard, you're wondering if I've heard any more reports on cheetah in the area. And James, unfortunately, other than those tracks I was discussing on and off for the past couple of days, I haven't heard anything, and I haven't heard that anyone in our area has seen or located the cheetah who left those wonderful tracks. So it's possible that they passed through and no one picked them up. It's possible that they're maybe just a little bit farther east from us, and not where we can access. Yeah, sadly, I don't know. And I now haven't seen a cheetah in, I think, 4 months now. So I'm jonesing for some cheetahs. So it would be nice if they want to come back and say hello. Sorry, it's going to be a little bit bumpy. Alright, well, while I continue on checking for these tracks and seeing what pops up, let's head over to Rolf and see what he has to show us.
Okay, folks, so just an update on the bushwalk. We've taken a little bit of a track going down towards the water. As somebody suggested, is there any water points in the area? Well, we're heading down towards that because obviously, as you do know, predators, when they become active in the early part of the evening, normally they would start off with a bit of a drink as the day would be quite hot. So they start off with a drink. They generally do their nights hunting or moving around, marking their territory, etc. And then they normally finish off with a bit of a drink before they then rest up during the day in a bit of the shade. So we just next to one of these lovely knob thorns, and as you can see, I'm just going to move around the other side over here. I know that yesterday Noel was also showing you guys a little bit on the marula of some of the evidence that I would just like Seb just to come around on this side. This is also another tree that the elephants like to feed on. This is a knobthorn, especially in winter, when there's a lot of not so much good nutritious grass and leaves around. You know, a lot of the trees are deciduous, so their leaves lose their leaves in winter. But what the elephants do like to do is stick their tusks into the barky sections of trees and pull this off, because along the inside here of the trees there's a lot of nutritional value. You know, this is where all the transport processes happen in a tree. So this inner cambium is where the xylem and phloem is moving up and down the tree, transporting those minerals and water from the leaves to the roots up and down. And so the elephants, they push their tusks into this barky section of the tree, and they do remove it. They then like to strip it and they feed on that. And you can actually notice it in winter. Their dung starts to get a very red color, and that I will also show you on a marula a little bit later. That's a whole lot more red, but on the inside here it starts to become quite red. It's got a lot of tannins and a lot of mineral salts, and that is why the elephants, then their dung starts to get this lovely red color. Almost looks like there's a bit of blood in it. And you can also see that with porcupine dung. So we will also try and see if we can find some of that porcupine dung. Now, there was a little bit of a hole there, but you can see as it goes up the tree, this elephant has stripped it all the way up to the top. And it would be no other animal than that of an elephant. So quite interesting. And these knobthorn trees, as you can see, if Seb just has a look there, there's a whole lot of thorns over there, and they're trying to protect themselves, especially from giraffe, who love to feed on these trees. But at the same time, there's a lot of little creatures that use these thorns to their benefit as well, such as the small little birds which may nest in the tree. And one such bird is the little blue waxbills. They will nest in these trees because the thorns create a nice defensive system for them. And what they do is they use a couple of different strategies. They will use the thorns, which are the defensive system for the tree, but they also like to nest next to wasps' nests or bees' nests. So they've got a double whammy. They've got the tree assisting them, and they've got some insects helping them as well, because the wasps, if they get disturbed, they're going to come out and start stinging everything. And they obviously don't really sting the waxbills, because they're not really a threat to them at all. So the waxbills, very small little bird, he's very easily predated upon, so he's using all these little defensive mechanisms from the tree, from the insects, and Wow, what a strategic way of trying to survive in the bush. Everything is about survival. It's not only us humans that are trying to survive, but when we have a problem or we don't feel well, we go to the doctor. The wildlife, they don't have that luxury. They need to look after themselves. They need to be instinctive, and with that instinctive knowledge, that is why they are still around today. If they weren't looking after themselves, we wouldn't actually find them in the bush anymore. So these trees, they're fulfilling a very important role for not only the elephants feeding up on that bark in the winter when it's a difficult time for them. We've got the giraffe which feed on the leaves, and then we've got the wasps which nest and helping to protect those little blue waxbills. So how's that for lovely little stories? We're not seeing too much in the tree at the moment, but once again we're going to continue along on our walk, and I think Brett is waiting to show you awesome things out in the Mara. Welcome to a magnificent morning in the magnificent Masai Mara. My name is Brett Smith. I have Manu on camera, and we are going on an adventure. Now, remember, if you have any questions for me, hashtag Safari Live. I would love to hear from you. Now, it'll only be Manu and myself in the Mara this morning, and we're going to head down south. We're going to look for the large sausage pride. So we're going to head down south. Oh, there we go. There might be a new bird for our Mara birders, but I'm not going to give it away. Oh, it's flying. And it is absolutely gorgeous light this morning. And there is a bird for you guys to identify. So it could be a new bird for your Mara bird lists for some of you. Or we have seen one or two of them before, but not often at all. So who can tell me what bird that is? Hashtag Safari Live if you know the answer. Looking a little bit disheveled after the rain last night. We had quite a bit of wind and rain from about 9 o'clock last night. So we could do a little bit of slipping and sliding today, but it is beautiful and it's so clear. There's no dust or anything. The stuff that looks like dust on the horizon is actually just water vapor in the air. So there we go. Fresh and clean Mara this morning. While you just think about what bird that is, we're going to keep meandering down. There's some big herds of elephants down on the plain, so I think we're going to head down towards them. Now, the elephants are plentiful at the moment. Moa says a stork or a heron. Well, it is a stork, but I want to know which stork it is. So, half right. Nev says Abdom stork. Oh, you're very close, Nev, but it's not an Abdom's, and it's also disappeared. Where did it go? Ah, there it is. Well done to Joey in Australia. You are spot on correct. It is indeed a black stork with that diagnostic red bill. Now, the one bird you can get confused with is the Adam stork. However, the Adam stork has blue and red on the face. The bill is a sort of dull grey or a dull red in the immature, but the dull grey with a reddy orange tip, whereas the black stork has a fully red beak. Okay, let's keep moving while the stork keeps searching for breakfast. I'm very grateful the wind has decided to abate because it was truly a howling gale last night. Now, of course, on our way down towards where could come across.
or even cheetah or leopard. So always good to keep your eyes open, your head on a swivel when you're on safari. Keep scanning about. Now, unfortunately, it seems like we are having a little bit of breakup, but you must remember we are coming.
Sorry about those gremlins with Brent and Lamara. It seems as if they've traveled from South Africa north up to him. Sorry about that, buddy. Alright, so we picked up on Hosanna's tracks earlier where he's lying down where they had that sighting last night. And then we picked up on Tingana's tracks as they came through to the dam, and I'm assuming headed over there. And then I'm having a little trouble hearing, but it sounds as if the guys say at least one of them has moved farther south out of our area of operations, sadly. But that doesn't mean that we can't maybe pick up on the other one. So we're going to come up to the dam and have a look-see. And you never know, we might just get lucky. So let's hold thumbs. Been checking, there's lots of impalas around. Sorry, just hold on. Can you all hear that sound? There's a Franklin alarm calling a little bit. They've stopped doing it and I can't quite see. No, it stopped doing it. Okay, but we have beautiful little dwarf mongoose. Let's just sit here for a little bit with these there it goes again. What are you alarm calling about, buddy? Okay, let's just sit with these dwarf mongoose for a bit and see if something pops out. It could just be internal strife amongst the Franklins. It could be something else. Could be our leopard. Frequency's not as much as I would like for something like a leopard. But our dwarf mongoose have come out of their home inside of this termite mound and are busy warming themselves up. Having a stretch, having a yawn. They'll probably start grooming themselves and grooming each other just now. Paula, I agree. I also love the little mongoose. They're super cute. Could be some snake activity with that Franklin. Sorry, I'm half watching our mongoose and half listening to this Franklin while looking around at the same time. Alright, dwarf mongoose. We are very lucky with dwarf mongoose on our shows. We tend to get them quite often. We do chat about them quite a bit. I think the most notable for anyone that hasn't seen them before, might just be joining us now, the most notable thing is that they are a type of mongoose that is in a group together. You'll hear me use the word gregarious a lot. Gregarious is sociable. And it's how they survive and it's how they keep themselves safe. They use each other for warmth, they use each other for comfort, and they use each other to make sure that wherever they travel and wherever they're moving, that someone always has an eye out for everybody else and that they're keeping each other accountable and you know, trying not to get eaten. For those of you that were watching last week, we had that really great interaction with all of them ganging up on that black mamba. I know I mentioned it quite a bit, but I'm still, that has to be one of my highlights of my year. That sighting was way too good. Now they're popping out from all over the place here. And not just checking on their surroundings, but also checking on us. Sorry, Curse, I was just readjusting my earpiece there, so I heard, when do the mongoose alarm? Do who and mongoose get along? Cats. Do cats and mongoose get along? Interesting. Look, I've seen leopards walk past a mound like this with dwarf mongoose on top, and they sort of just jump in. I wouldn't say they get along, no, and I would definitely say that younger lion and leopard, anything that moves, they tend to go after. And now that as I'm processing and thinking about this question, I'm remembering a couple of sightings on another reserve that I worked at with young lions catching slender mongoose and killing and eating them. So no. Look, in general, predators like lion and leopard don't get along with anything other than themselves, or if it's a pride of lions, their pride. They tend to want to dominate and or eat anything that they come across. This light is absolutely stunning. Stanley ×3, you are asking if dwarf mongoose are capable of slow movements. Am I hearing that correctly, Kirst? Yeah, I think what you're seeing now is in general the slowest that they'll move, so it's still quick. And then they'll sort of rub their bodies along a little bit, but in general their movements are a little bit more on the excited side. But this for them is slow, because they're just waking up. They're just starting their morning. Scarlett, you're curious to know what is the size of this dwarf mongoose. So the size of this dwarf mongoose is roughly the size of your hand. But let me check inside my mammal book to give you a very accurate answer to that question. Most of the times, I'll give you the relative one according to where they are in relation to me. I've never held a dwarf mongoose, but yeah, just eyeballing about the size of my hand. And my mammal book says that it is 30 to 40 centimeters, so whatever that is in inches, I believe it's 2 centimeters to an inch, so 80 inches. Yeah? Right around in there. It's little. Chris, did you say that's a foot long? But that would mean that it was that big. That seems too big for a dwarf mongoose. I'm gonna have to recheck that. So that the book that I have with me in the car is a book that I use for the photos. It's something that I use for photos. And so a foot is about this long, but for me a dwarf mongoose is the size of my hand, which is definitely not a foot. So let me get back to you this afternoon. Okay. That Franklin has stopped. I don't hear any leopard. Steve, you're wondering if dwarf mongoose climb trees. I had a question very similar to this the other day as well, and I was thinking in my head, oh my goodness, have I ever seen a dwarf mongoose climb a tree? I haven't personally seen a dwarf mongoose climb a tree, but I've seen a slender mongoose climb quite far up a tree and eat off of an old leopard kill, so an old impala kill that was up there. So I would assume yes, but I don't think it's their natural state to want to do that. And that slender mongoose sighting I was telling you about now, I've only ever seen that once. It's not something that I've seen often. You see, they're all starting to pile out now because it's starting to get a lot warmer. And I don't know if you can hear those Egyptian goose are super loud in the back, but they're starting to talk to each other, these mongoose. Carrie, you're wondering how many babies a dwarf mongoose will have on average. Carrie, I really couldn't tell you. It would be something I would have to look up. I would guess probably 2 or 3. That would be my educated guess, just because they're very little. Although that being said, mice are very tiny and they tend to have quite a few babies. But yeah, I would go with 2 or 3, but I can get back to you this afternoon. Unless there's someone out there who happens to know the answer, but I will check my mammal Bible for everybody and triple confirm those size numbers, because I'm doubting that these dwarf mongoose are a foot. Unless you stretch them out completely and from the very tip of their nose to the very tip of the tail, but yeah, I don't know. Seems a bit large for me. Can you guys hear them? Can you hear that little squeaking? Kind of, yeah. It's like a little, tiny little squeaky chirp. Now that the Egyptian geese have been quiet in the back. So something that's interesting, it popped up in FC the other day. We were talking about, is it mongai, is it mongooses, is it what, mongoose, what is it? And I slip every now and then and say mongoose, but it is just in fact mongoose. It's mongoose for one, it's mongoose for many, it's just mongoose. That's your fact for the day. That, and that the collective noun is a business of mongoose. I really like that collective noun. A little busy business. Okay, well thank you, mongoose. Let's head more towards the dam. Oh, sorry. There we go. Let's head more towards the dam and see if we pick up anything further on at least one of our cheeky leopard. As I said before, it sounds like, from what the guys are telling me, that one of them has gone farther south. And it has warmed up very quickly. We were chatting earlier about how nice and brisk it was, and all of the smells, and just in sort of the hour since we were discussing that, it's gotten much warmer. A lot of those smells have dissipated. Gonna come up on the dam wall here, angle myself a little bit, just keeping an eye on everything. Our hippos are looking good. I don't know what these cheeky little leopards are up to. I think that they were hiding and that they were just trying to be nice to Steve, and then they popped out to show themselves and say, yes, look at me, look at me. All right. To our left, we have not only gorgeous hippos, but there's a wonderful fish eagle on top of the tree there. And it's very calm and still, hardly any wind. No, that's looking good. As many of you know, we've got a resident pair of fish eagles that lives here. And look, as I was commenting before, it is warm, it's warming up. But the warming up is good for something like a fish eagle, because then they can start moving their large eagle bodies and hunting for fish. So we might just get lucky. I think let's sit here for a little while and eyeball everything we can, watch what we can. There's a little green-backed heron flying off. And again, keep listening for our possible leopard that might still be in the area. Can we hear all the birds? Well, of course you can hear the Egyptian geese, they're so loud, but can we hear the red-billed buffalo weavers as well? And there were some bee eaters that were calling just now. Here's our red, oh, sorry. Yeah, red-billed buffalo weaver. Sorry for a second. Couldn't see on the monitor. I was like, oh, is that a starling? But it's not. It is indeed a red-billed buffalo weaver. chattering away. I believe one of you has gone and looked up dwarf mongoose and how many young they have. And it sounds as if the information you're getting is 4 to 6 babies. Thank you very much for that. Now, 4 to 6 babies with that tiny little mongoose, those babies must be teeny, 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 tiny. And I can imagine it must be very, very difficult being that size and then carrying that many young. But as you can see, the colonies get quite large, so obviously they do tend to have a good success rate with their little ones. But that being said, I mean, I'm sure it's variable depending on where they are. Okay, well, we're going to carry on down the dam wall and then pop around the back side and see what is there. And let's head over to Rolf while we're busy doing that and see what he's up to.
Okay, folks, I just want to show you something here. We were showing you a little bit of dung as we started. Now, just remember that if we talk of, we even classify the different defecations of animals as well. If you talk of herbivore defecation, we speak of dung. If we move on to the omnivorous animals, such as the primates, baboons, monkeys, and even humans, we speak of feces. And here, what we're looking at now, this is from a predator, a meat eater, straight up, that's all he eats. We talk about scat. So, we've got dung, feces, and scat. Now, I was handling that dung earlier from the impala, but there's a reason why I would never touch this with my open hand, and if I did, I would immediately go and wash it, because this is scat from a leopard, and it's actually started to turn a little bit white as that calcium is starting to change the color of it from that green, which calcium, the color of green is actually the color of calcium. Now it's starting to turn a little bit whiter, and there's a reason why I would never touch this. There's a bacteria that you find in carnivores that is called streptococci, and if you had to handle this and you get this bacteria in your mouth, it will live in your mouth, but it can migrate up through the blood and into your brain, and it causes a cyst on your brain, and the only way to remove it would be through surgery. So not a nice thing to have, and such the reason why we should never handle predator scat. Now, this is from a leopard, and I don't know if Seb can go back a little bit here, and we can have a look. Here's a nice track here of not the track when this animal actually made the scat. This is a little bit fresher here. Looks like a female. It is of a leopard. This is from a back foot of a leopard, and I'm sure it would have come past and had a smell at this, whether it was its own or not. Obviously, predators would always sort of stop and have a good smell and see if it was another individual. They would try and work out who's been moving around in the area. Now, talking of scat and dung, my favorite. Another little bit of dung here. It's not scat. This has obviously got very much grass material in it. It seems like that's all it is. But this is from a little Cape scrub hare. Now, what interesting about this is that I know you were talking a little bit earlier about dung beetles. Now, the dung beetles, they also eat dung, which and the term we call that is coprophagia. Okay, now this animal, the Cape scrub hare, also exhibits this kind of behavior. It's coprophagia, eating of dung, but the Cape scrub hare takes it one step further, and he eats his own dung. But it it might sound a little bit gross or, not very nice, but he's actually very energy efficient. Instead of him eating grass and moving along and like an elephant, he just constantly needs to go and find new sources of food. This little guy, he feeds on the grass, he defecates, he eats on his own dung again, passes it through again, utilizing all the energy from that grass, and he can do it even 2 or 3 times. So, and that's the reason why eventually it's very, very fine, and it's almost a white color. So the Cape scrub hare, much more energy efficient than for that of an elephant. Okay, so we're going to continue, see if we can find some more scat. As we have also picked up on this little track here, we're going to continue and see if we can find out a little bit more on this leopard. We spoke of the leopard tortoise, but I do think Noel might have something interesting to show you, but we're going to continue our walk.
I have a very, very interesting thing to show you guys. Thanks, Ralph. I have a huge warthog who's being kind and is not running away, and he's got a few freeloaders on the back there. Really, really large male. Freeloaders are taking off. Not the biggest tush by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got a thick, thick body that can weigh up to about 80 kilograms. Yes, and now he's figured out that we see him, and that he better move quickly across the road. Caught a little bit of a fright there. Sorry, we've got what I believe are Hasana's tracks here, and they're headed off in that direction. So I got super excited for a moment as he went down that little embankment. I was like, "Ooh, maybe Hasana's there." And let me just see if I can get an angle on these tracks for you that we just had now. Sorry, they were just busy coming down the road, and I believe they're just up in here. Yeah, here we go. Just gonna angle so the light is nice, and then unplug and get out so I can show you what I see. Now these are on top of tire tracks, and on top of tire tracks from yesterday. Here we go. Here. So again, we've got our 4 toes in front, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 3 pads at the back that we're all used to. This is his back track here. It's longer than it is wide, and his front track is just here. So he was moving at a quick clip, but to be honest with you, now that I'm actually physically on the ground and seeing the size of them, they're actually quite large. So I'm thinking maybe I was incorrect, and maybe they're Tingana, because this is very big for a male leopard. Just to give you an idea, I'll come back to the ones I was playing with. I mean, that's a large for a leopard. That's a large track. There we go there. So because the back track is in front and on top of a little bit of the front track, it means he was moving at a quick pace, as I was saying. They are looking fresh enough for me to be interested, meaning they're not from yesterday, but we are close to the Gowrie cut line. Let's follow them a little bit and see. Ooh, sorry, I'm all tangled. Let's follow them a little bit and see. Maybe they stay with us. Maybe they don't. Ooh, Brent's gremlins seem to have disappeared. So let's head on up to him and see what beautiful birds he has to show us this morning.
We've got a pair of rosy-throated male rosy-throated longclaws engaged in aerial battle at the moment. Well, let's have a look. Is one going to land back where he was out in the open? No. He's off. Oh, gone? Where'd the other one go? Oh, there, he landed a bit closer. Lovely money. Now let's see if we can find the one. He popped down into the longer grass there. Might, between those two bushes close to that little black mound, termite mound. We can hear a scaly spurfowl calling. Cha-cha-cha-cha. Oh, and oh, the other Franklin. Oh, and I've gone blank. Orange. Oh, now I've gone completely blank. But the birds this morning are out and about in full force. You hear that? That is red-winged Franklin. Oh, it took me long enough. That's a red-winged Franklin calling in the distance. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay, well, it looks like the long claw battle is over for now. We'll keep seeing if we can find it. The rosies keep disappearing as we get the camera on them, but that's what makes them such a fun bird when we finally do get them on camera. Now, Oreo Boots is wondering, does Africa have hummingbirds? We don't. We have sunbirds, but we don't have hummingbirds. Here we go. One of the more common birds of the Mara, the black-bellied bustard. This is a male in full display. He should give us the little pop shortly, unless he gets a bit shy. But you see how his tail feathers are erect like that? Means he's looking for love. There we go. There we go. Pop. I think someone said it sounds like, I've never played myself, Sonic the Hedgehog, the game. It sounds like a bubble popping. But as I say, I've never played Sonic the Hedgehog. I was busy going fishing in the age of the computer or TV games. Where's your girlfriend? Not attracting any girlfriends. We're going to go see if we can find some more stuff. As I said, hopefully we'll find some more birds. It's a really nice morning for birding in the Mara with this, after the rain. After the rain, it's nice and still. We don't have a lot of wind, so hopefully we're going to see some nice species this morning. I'll thank you, Anna Marie. Anna Marie says, Brent is such a bird lover. I love going birding with him. Well, I love taking you birding, Anna Marie. And I'm hoping we can add a few more species to your Mara bird list. I know some people have cracked that magical 100. And the exciting thing about the Mara is that there are over 500 species that have been recorded in the Mara. So we've got a long way to go, guys, a long way to go. Now, as we head further into the rains, we're going to get more and more bird species. Oh, here we go. What do we got? What do we got? There's one for the serious birders. Oh, of course they're flying away. It looked like plain-back pipits, but I didn't get a good enough look. Okay, we'll just keep moving. Sorry, Kirsten, I didn't hear who that was, but what was the African equivalent of a turkey? Wow. Dumb Shark was wondering, what is the African equivalent of a turkey? Oh, I don't think we actually have an African equivalent of a turkey. Size-wise, the closest would be the bustard family, which we just saw. But in terms of habits and stuff, we don't really have an African equivalent. Oh, we've got a nice raptor there on top of the balanites. Looks like a juvenile. Oh, Look at that, isn't that pretty? It's a juvenile black-breasted snake eagle. Well, apparently Jamie had this bird a few days ago, and there was some contention about the ID. I'm 100% sure that is a juvenile black-breasted snake eagle. Well, and that's what he thinks of us. You can see that brilliantly yellow eye. And you can see the legs do not have feathers all the way down, which is a diagnostic of the snake eagle family. Oh, beautiful. Lovely camera work, Manu. Oh, and off he flaps. Off to find some snakes in the grass. Oh, hang on, what have we got there? Aha. On top of that little blue bush there. There's a nice one for everyone. Now, I have seen black kukels in this area, but I haven't seen them for a while, but they move around seasonally with the rain. That is, of course, actually, you tell me which kukul that is. Hashtag Safari Live if you know what kukul that is. Now, it is one of the more common ones we get in the Mara. Well, let me rephrase that. We only get two species of kukul in the Mara. We get the black kukul and this kukul. There's a possibility we might get the very, very big blue-headed kukul, but generally those will be around very moist, swampy areas or permanent water. Now, kukels are quite efficient little hunters, and in the long grass like this, they'll actually have runs, little tunnels that they'll use to hunt down rodents and insects and lizards and geckos and whatever they can catch. Often nicknamed the rainbird in lots of parts of Africa, just because they're often called just before a big thunderstorm, and it is a wonderful call. That's their call. Now, while you try to think about which bird that is, we've got some more birds, a flock of birds actually landing next to us. And very, very pretty birds of the shrike family. It's a flock of grey-backed fiscals. Well done, Judy H. Indeed, it is a white-browed kukul. And now we've got a little flock of grey-backed fiscal shrikes basking in the glorious morning sun. Now, they're the more common of the fiscal shrikes that we get on the Mara floor, but in areas around river systems and forests, and right on the edge of that, we get the common fiscal as well. Olivia is wondering, how do you tell a girl bird from a boy bird? In birds that look exactly the same in terms of male and female, it is very, very difficult until you have them in hand. Normally, the females are bigger than the males, and of course, there's a very important reason for that, because the female has to produce eggs, and that takes a lot of energy and strength. So the females are normally bigger than the males, but in a lot of species, there will be big differences between the male and female, and that is especially when the male has to do a lot more work to attract the female. So the males will often be far more brightly colored, or have a far more vigorous call, and that's all to attract females. But in species where the male and female look the same, it's very difficult to tell unless you actually have the bird in your hand and you can weigh it. Okay, well, let's keep moving. Now, I did see a bird that you can tell the difference between a male and a female very easily just up ahead. I hope I can find it again. We landed just on this corner here. Not those ones flapping past. No, they seem to have disappeared. It was a pin-tailed wider. No. Made good its escape. Now, while I enjoy my leisurely birding drive, let's go to Ralph, who's got to work a bit harder because he's on foot.
Okay, folks, please join us. We've just picked up on some fresher leopard tracks, so we're just continuing along the bush here. We're on this trail, and we're going to see if we can maybe follow up on her. So I'm not going to be stopping and interpreting. We're just seeing if we can come through the bush here. And Herbert is on the tracks, and we just see if we can continue here through here. Shame. Seb's got to watch out for his mast behind him, and we've got quite a lot of trees that we've got to go through here. We're quite down low in the riverine vegetation, so we might be getting quite close to her. It is a female, and we do think that it's Tundi. We do need to be quite careful because she's possibly with some cubs, so obviously we would not want to disturb her at all. But we do want to try and see if we could get a little bit closer to where her whereabouts are. Herbie's on the trail. You know that leopards are one of the, if not the most difficult animal to track. So we've got the tracks here. They're nice, they're very difficult to see, but we're going to continue along here, see if we can find her. You must remember, when you are going and trailing, especially big cats, when you start to get closer to them, you can, if you've got experience in the bush, you generally start to feel that hair going up on the back of your neck, and the bush starts to go quiet. That's a very good indication of you being very close. You need to be very careful at that stage. You don't want to surprise them. Look, very often we do think that we're very close, but we can also have, no results in the end. But that's what it's all about, eh? That's what it's about, building the anxiety, getting close, always being on your toes, and not disturbing these animals. So we're just seeing which way she might have moved, and we try and anticipate, and then we try and pick up and see where she is. But as I've said, we don't want to disturb her. So if we get into any kind of compromising situation, we're going to move out completely. There is a pan just down the bottom here, so Herbie's just going to go and have a look for us just quickly. He does have the rifle, but that is only for self-defense, and I know that Tundi does have a good nature. I don't think that she's going to charge us or anything like that, but we do need to be careful around the cubs. If there are cubs, we think that there are, so we don't want to compromise anything around that kind of situation. We're just having a look, but if there's any sign that, she would normally just give us a hiss or a growl, obviously we would extract immediately. But if we can get a visual of her from afar, that would be ideal, and especially if she didn't even know that we were there, that would be ideal. So the little water hole here in front, we've still got all the birds calling. They're still doing their duets and carrying on. It's their pair bonding time of year. Okay, folks, we're going to continue searching here. We're going to just go and look down here by the water hole. But while we carry on with the search, I think you can just see what Noel is up to, and we'll inform you what's happening in a minute.
We have found an Egyptian goose. A pair of them. Yeah, I'm so sorry, but I have the sneaky suspicion, and with all of the little pieces that I have, which are definitely not all of them, but with most of the puzzle pieces I have, these two leopards have moved off into a little gallery from what I can see, or I've just missed something integral. But yeah, I've checked every little hidey hole I can think of and every little spot, and done what I can with those tracks. So, c'est la vie. Alright, but we are in a beautiful little spot. This area is where Tristan often comes to have a look for a sauna. He does like it back here. It was my last resort And although quite aesthetically pleasing, it is not filled with leopard. Yes, VM, I would laugh so hard if we pan up to that tree and that leopard was sitting in that tree. I would laugh so hard. Alright, now next to me, about at my 10 o'clock, we have a tambueti tree. Well, we've got several tambueti trees, but we've got a very good version of a tambueti tree here. A similar type of bark to something like a leadwood, but it's a lot darker, a lot more fissured, the bark's more rough. This tree is quite interesting. There's lots of uses for it, but I think the most fascinating use that I can think of at the moment is this tree has a lot of toxins in it that are not necessarily very good for humans, but it is used in traditional remedies to cure ulcers. So basically it's toxic. You shouldn't cook food over it. You shouldn't get the latex from the leaf in your eye. The latex is this sort of like milky excretion, but it's traditionally used. If you know what you're doing, you can make a concoction out of it and treat ulcers. So I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how. I don't think I would drink it. But that being said, if someone really knows what they're doing, I guess you can take something even as toxic as a tambueti tree and be able to aid yourself in medicinal uses with that. I've tried a lot of the different aspects of different trees that we have with medicinal things, except for this tree. I'm too trepidatious about it. I don't think that I will really go there. I'm definitely not going to put that latex in my eye. All right, so this area is filled with little tambuetis. Lots of black cotton soil. Tony, you're saying this is a really nice picnic site. It is indeed. It is a definite nice picnic site. It probably floods a little bit more than we would like to think. These tambueti trees that we were talking about, because of this more clay soil, denote that this area gets very wet and sort of seeps in, as you can see from the slanting here. But yes, I think during the drier times, definitely good for a picnic spot. And also drier times to keep away from having too many mosquitoes, because when you get these little parts of the water like you saw just there, when they sit for a long time, that's where mosquitoes breathe. Okay, onward and upward. Let's turn around and start checking some other places. Colbert, are you asking what is the most endangered species in this area? Was that the question? Colbert, good question. What is the most endangered species in this area? Colbert, I think if you were to take the numbers sort of continent-wide for species and sort of the percentages, I believe it would be the wild dog. Oh, sorry? I thought I heard a hyena up close, but no. I was imagining things. I would go with wild dog, probably the most endangered. But I'm talking large species. I'm not quite sure. I'm sure there's an insect or a butterfly or a moth or a frog that might be more endangered, but that I'm just not aware of. But in my head, I would go with African wild dog, the African painted wolf. So the reason why I'm sitting just here, one, was to answer your question and talk to you. But there was a little black crake that ran in here. And black crakes, I keep seeing him, and he never wants to sit still for the camera. And I'm just hoping if we give it a minute or two, he might pop up. Let me just show you quickly. I'm just going to turn my body around so it's easier for you all to see. This guy here at the bottom. He lives in water, and he likes these little marshy areas. And it's now, the other day was the first one for the season that I've seen. And I really, really want to pop up. I'm not sure if this is one that you all have been able to get on camera. I'm not quite sure if it's on our list of birds we need to try to identify. I'm pretty sure many of you over the years must have lists that span at least 350 species. I mean, especially with the Mara going, I can't even imagine how many bird species you guys all have ticked. It would be nice to know if anyone wants to share what their life list is. And while you're busy thinking, all of you birders out there, we're going to head up to Brent, who's doing some birding as well, and see if we can add some more lifers. And then let me know when we get back if there's any of you that have a nice long list that you've kept going over the years.
Yeah, it's a male, pin-tailed whiter, and he's off. Oh, and he's gone behind us. Oh dear. Well, as I said, in certain birds, the sexual dimorphism is very easily seen. So those pin-tailed whiters, actually, during the breeding season, they are that beautiful black and white, the males. The females, however, stay as a very drab, brown, and as soon as the breeding season's over and he doesn't have to compete, having those long tail feathers is obviously quite difficult for him to fly. He can't fly very long distances, so it puts him at a disadvantage, especially when it comes to predators. Small, like the grey kestrels, peregrine falcon, all the predatory little acceptors, gabar, goshawk, will target them during the breeding season because they're easier to catch when they've got that long tail. So when breeding season's over, they actually lose that tail. And I will show you now. There we go. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, I spotted some other birds here. So there was another male pin-tailed and a female pin-tailed whiter. So there's the male. Oh, and he chased the female away. Let me just... We got him. Well done, Money. So there's the male, and I'm hoping we get oh, here we go, right next to us, just to the left of the male. You see there's a little brown drab bird there. There we go. That's the female pin-tailed whiter. Isn't that cool? Now, the male pin-tailed whiter will lose all his coloration during the non-breeding season and look almost exactly the same as the female. As I said, he has to keep that long tail and those dark colors during the breeding season to make sure he can get hold of a bunch of females. But once it's over and he's managed to hopefully impregnate a little harem of females, he then loses all that coloration. And here we go, I've got a picture of I don't know where we're going to put this now with the glare of the sun. How's that? There we go. That's a male pin-tailed whiter. So looks almost exactly the same as the female.
Put it on your right.
Put it on my right. Oh, in the shade here. Good call, Manu. How's that there? So there we go. That's the male pin-tailed whiter when he's lost his breeding colors. So it's a bit of a catch-22 for them. Okay. Okay, so it's a bit of a catch-22 for them. So they need to have that really wonderful, striking coloration. They need to have that long tail to show how impressive and how strong they are to fly with this really terrible thing behind them. But of course, then it makes them easy for predators to spot and to catch. Now, we've got some birds hopping about in that woolly caper bush there. Oh, now he's gone right in. It was a mouse bird, the speckled mouse birds. Now, very interesting. Hopefully that Noel or Rolf can find you a speckled mouse bird on Djuma, because even though they're the same species, the East African speckled mouse bird has a very cute white cheek spot. So it's on both their cheeks, they've got this white spot. Okay, we'll see if we can get them to come out. Psst, 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 psst. They don't like that. They're not buying that alarm call. Let's try a different one. Psh, 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 psh. these mouse birds seem immune to my alarm calls today. Oh, there's not buying it. Let's just try a little bit further forward to see if there's a... Oh, hello, longclaw. Before we move, very pretty yellow-throated longclaw. We were trying to find the rosies earlier today, but there's their cousins, more common cousin, the yellow-throated longclaws. Again, one of the more common birds we find in the grassland areas of the Mara. Very, very beautiful. Oh, there's a mouse bird out in the open. Here we go. And you can see it's drying himself after getting wet last night in the storm. Isn't that cute? Look at him all fluffed up. And you can see those white cheek patches I was talking about. He looks like he had a torrid time last night in the storm. Andrew's wondering, can they fly when they get water on their wings? Yes, they can, Andrew. Their flight is just impeded a bit, making them a bit slower and a bit more vulnerable to predatory birds. Now, of course, he looks really fat, but he's not. He's puffed himself up. And you can see how wet he was. He's just trying to get the sun to dry him out. It is so cool. Fluffy, fluffy. It is quite nice to just sit and watch a bit of preening going on. It does look very cute. Now, a lot of people who live in Africa are not very fond of mouse birds. And that's because mouse birds are very fond of fruit. So if you've got fruiting trees in your garden, or if you're a fruit farmer, mouse birds can actually be quite a pain. Now, of course, with indigenous fruits and plants, they are a very important species because their flocks move around, and here we go, you can see he's not so fluffy now. Their flocks move around and eat all sorts of different fruits, and of course are able to spread the seed all over and help with a new generation of fruiting plants. Yeah, well, I think we're going to continue birding for a bit longer, but while we do that, it seems like Rolf has a bit of CSI to go through on the ground back in Djuma.
Okay, folks. So, like we said, we were trying to follow up on Thandi. We had a lot of tracks coming in and out, and of these drainage lines, and the suspicions had been that she was denning because she had been looking a little bit swollen recently, but we've come across some evidence here that seems like she may have been on she definitely was from what we have found here now. She has made a kill, and as we have seen as well, we've started to see all the little baby impala being dropped, and they're obviously easy prey leopards, so they're starting to feed on them quite nicely now. They're little easy takeaways for them. Here's a leg of the baby impala, so nice just to have a look there. Shame. It's obviously quite sad for the little impala and the mommy who obviously dropped this foal and now has lost her young one, but life goes on with the leopard. They need to eat as well, and nice to see this little foot. That's the track that we are always trying to show you, and with an impala they walk right out on the outer edges of the toes. Remember what I told you yesterday? These animals are walking right on the tips of their toes. This is literally part of the ankle, so the whole foot here, hey, that is the foot. That is the foot with the toes at the end. The sort of knee would be way further up here. This is just the ankle here, right, and the toes coming down. And over here, this is, I'm sure a lot of the other presenters and the guides have been telling you about the metatarsal gland of impala. You don't find it in any of the other antelope, but this is something that apparently they believe that these animals use to as a scent trail to follow each other through the bush. So, but this animal has obviously met an unlucky fate, but with that, Thandi lives on, and the meat and the protein that she has now been able to get from this unlucky animal, she will use that in the coming days to, and if the suspicions are correct that she does have a litter waiting to be shown to us, then this will obviously be very important protein for her to not only for her survival but for the youngsters as well. So we have at least found the reason for her moving in and out of this drainage line. So a little bit of CSI there, as Brent has mentioned, but we're going to go on and see what else, where she may have moved from here. Maybe she still is denning, maybe not, but that's the intricacies of the bush, and that's why we love it so much, because we never know what it's going to throw at us. But that's very interesting. That's very fresh. That's of the last day or so. It's not very old at all. You can still smell the sort of intestinal liquid and fluid. It's quite pungent smell. It hasn't started rotting at all. The ants have started to go onto it. So even a little piece like this, you can see the ants in there. They will also start taking the protein from this, and they will also help to break down this little piece of meat that has been left by Thandi. You know, with it being such a small animal, like this little impala, she would have been able to crunch a lot of these bones up, and definitely not much left at all. So she would have obviously also digested or ingested a lot of the hair, and you'll find a lot of that coming out in a scat. Initially, the scat is quite predominantly liquid. It does contain a lot of the blood. It's very black, and then later on, then you start to get the bone and the calcium coming through, and that last sort of passing is mostly the hair. So you can actually then see with the scat, when last that leopard fed, if you're getting predominantly hair, then it would have been a few days ago already. If you're getting a sort of diarrhea, splattery, black color, then it's very, very. She's fed very recently, and if you're getting then a lot of the greenness from the bone and the calcium, then that's sort of a day or two's time space. So that's how we sort of look at the tracks and signs of things. You know, it's not like on the TV where you can put your finger into dung and you say the animal was here 1.5 hours ago. We're looking at all the different time-lapse things that have happened in between, such as evidence like that. Whether, was it a day ago? Was it 3 days ago? Was it 5 days ago? We look at whether it's rained, and when did it rain? So with the tracks, are they on top of the rain? Are they underneath the rain? Did the rain splatter on top of them? We'll also look at other animals' behavior, such as doves. I'm going to show you when we get back onto the road at a certain stage. I'd like to also show you if a leopard has walked along the road, we can quite easily work out whether that leopard has walked along the road in the early morning or the late afternoon or during the evening, just by doves, because doves, they meander along the road. They're seed eaters, so they meander along the road because it's a nice open area where they can actually spot the seeds, but they walk into the sun because it doesn't make sense for them to turn away from the sun. Then they're literally searching for seeds in their own shadows. So they will meander along the road into the sun. Now, if you've got a leopard track with dove tracks on top of it, and it's leading into an easterly direction, well, then you know that dove was possibly moving, most likely moving on that road in the early morning. And if it's on top of that leopard track, then you would say that leopard probably worked there.
Just in the past sort of week to 2 weeks, I've seen more flowering leopard orchids than I have in years and years and years and years. They don't flower for very long, just a week or two. and it's something that you don't always get to catch in the bush. And I know we love to do the leopard orchids on walk, but VM and I found this, well, I should say Vildi found it and then pointed it out to me, and it's just looking quite beautiful with that blue sky in the background. Now this orchid is not a parasite. It is what's known as, oh my goodness, my brain just shut down, sorry. It's an epiphyte. So a parasite is something that needs to live off of its host tree. This leopard orchid lives all on its own. So basically, the hubris collects at the bottom. So all that soil and everything sort of collects there in that little nook. And it's got its own functioning nutrients and stabilizers and everything it needs to function right there. I don't know if any of you have ever seen, I'm thinking of this, a very dear friend of mine, Melinda, has one of these plants in a jar. So it's like a terrarium, and this plant, it doesn't need anything. Everything it needs is inside this giant glass vase. And they don't need to water it, nothing. It's got a little sort of lid on the top that stays sort of halfway open, and it processes everything on its own. And that's very similar to what this epiphyte is doing. So you get holo epiphytes and you get hemi-epiphytes. So whenever we talk about holo or hemi, holo is whole and hemi is half. And with this one, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, but I think I've now just given myself even more homework for this afternoon. I believe this one is a hemi-epiphyte. So basically what it does is it starts off towards the bottom, and then with root systems that connect and retract them up as it builds up its ecosystem up there. But as I'm saying this out loud, I feel a little niggle in my file 13 that maybe possibly I'm remembering this wrong. So I will triple check on that homework for you, of course. All right, so we did Chitwa area flat. We are now moving back into the Voyatella area. We're going to attempt to get to Treehouse Dam and see what's there, because I have not heard hide no hair from Shadow since we bumped into her the other evening on our way home, and I think that was about 4 evenings ago. So we're going to see what we can come up with there, and of course keep finding wonderful things like this leopard orchid that we found in that tree. That being said, we have a question. Yana, you're wondering if there are many species of orchid in South Africa and Kenya. So with the Kenya species, I haven't worked up there in so many years. I honestly couldn't tell you. I would assume they get a leopard orchid. Here in our area of South Africa in particular, as far as I know, this is the only orchid species we get. But more homework, thank you very much. I can triple check. But as far as I know, this is our species. But I can confirm for you a little bit later, unless of course there's someone out there who knows more about flowers than I do, and then yeah, I would be interested to know if we get any other orchid species in southern Africa or possibly up in Kenya, in the Mara. Brent might actually know. We can always throw that question back towards him. And then of course we would be talking about an orchid species that is endemic to here, not something that was brought in. But as far as I know, for us it's just this leopard orchid. Great question. Okay.